the notion that in business, people don't need more connections, they need better connections. I think anybody that is in pursuit of quality relationships over quantity relationships, right? We talked about being bold enough to dial. I'm like, what about taking the time? Now, you should stop dialing, but to create a system where you're answering the phone way more than you're making phone calls.
Hey, welcome to the podcast where dreams meet determination and success is just around the corner. I'm your host, Suzanne Taylor-King, and I'm here to help you unlock the full potential of your business and your life. Welcome to Unlock Your Way with STK. Let's unlock your path to success together. Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Friday. We are here for Unlock Your Way with STK, and I am live today with the incredible, the outgoing, the charismatic connector, Daniel Andrews. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you. Appreciate it. It's good to be here. I'm always curious to see what adjectives people use to describe me, so now I know.
Do you like those 3 new ones that I just came up with on the fly?
Those are beautiful. I always wonder, and it's probably, I tend to stay on the self-critical and defensive side of things, thanks to, Dad, who's a fighter pilot. I'll let y'all sort that one out if you're a therapist or want to be therapist. But, charismatic, I always wonder, does that imply superficiality or not?
No, to me, it means charming. To me, it means one of my favorite.
Does it mean that's where it stops, right? That, I think of the politician that walks through kissing every baby and shaking every hand.
That's a schmoozer. That's a schmoozer.
Okay.
Yeah.
In that case, I'll accept charismatic from you. I know you know, because you and I know. Yeah.
Well, Daniel and I, just to be transparent, we know each other really well, and we consider each other inner circle, connections of each other. Daniel gets my best introductions. I get his. We think about each other for opportunities. We support each other on social media. If I see something of interest that would be in his interest to comment on, I tag him. He does the same for me. And today we're going to talk a little bit about how we got to that point and what that looks like. But first, I want to know a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey, Daniel, and what kind of brought you to this place you're at today.
Sure. Well, there's certainly not a direct path, right? Well, he was an employee, and then he was a manager, and then he was a supervisor, and then he bought his own business doing the thing. The entrepreneurial side of me goes back to the beginning. I tell people all the time, I've been officially self-employed for 35 years, 49 if you start with the lemonade stand in first grade, right? And it wasn't a jump from age 6 to age 20. It was selling lemonade. It was selling greeting cards door to door. It was selling programs at University of South Carolina, the real USC football games. It was, finding the farmer that needed help, literally picking up pecans that had fallen from the trees at 15 cents a pound. That tells you all I am, right? It's always been the entrepreneurial hustle, for me in that regard. And so I'm fortunate to have found a business model that I can build around that. But professionally, my journey took me through direct sales. I was 15 years with a product called Cutco Cutlery that a lot of people know. It's a great college job. I just didn't quit for 15 years because it's a really great job as well as a college job. And then I worked doing direct mail for car dealerships, which is
wow,
you can imagine. And it's not interesting if you're not in the industry, and it's not interesting if you are in the industry. So I won't talk about that at all. It's very niche, very mundane. And then I spent 8 years doing employee benefits for various companies, which led to a lot of really cool stories and some decent profits. And then 7 years ago, I launched a model around the concept that's based on the fact that in business, people don't need more connections, they need better connections. So.
Yeah, that's so true. And you gave me a flashback to one of my first jobs at a dental office was picking up the phone and showing my age, just pushing the buttons, but calling people to confirm appointments. And it was so mundane and so boring, but really got me over that fear of picking up the phone and dialing with a purpose.
Yeah. And there's value in that, right?
There is.
Yeah.
So, discovering that you had this ability to see patterns, see connections, to listen for how people should be connecting. When did that kind of aha moment come to create a business out of that?
Yeah. Well, that was a journey, right? And the ability to see patterns and connections has some fairly fortunate side effects. It means I'm really good on standardized tests, right? So I went to college on somebody else's dime, Ivy League universities, because they thought I was smart, and I was fine to let them think that. It means I'm pretty good at jigsaw puzzles, but there's no market for being good at jigsaw puzzles, right? And then, but it also means that I can kind of see past what people do and focus more on who they do it for, and more importantly, why, not why they do it, why their customers hire them, right?
Yeah.
A mentor to you and me both, John Berghoff, once said, fall in love with their problem, not your solution, and not going down that rabbit hole, except to use that as a touch point for the fact that I was talking to two people yesterday, kind of co-creating some value between them in real time. And one of them has a one voice coaching program where he teaches teams that their verbal representations of their company are all very consistent. That doesn't mean they all parrot the same words, but they don't contradict each other, that they reinforce the same values for the org. And the other woman was someone who helps people with internal or external audiences sound good from stage. They're like, yeah, I don't see, any overlap. I'm like, you don't? Because I see a ton, right? Companies about that size that are willing to invest on good verbal representation for their executives are willing to invest in good verbal representation for their team and their field workers.
For sure.
And they're like, oh, I see, there you go. It's the same guy cutting the check or gal cutting the check in both cases.
Yeah.
We need better messaging, right? And they're like, and it's just a question of getting up, ground level. There's not a lot of parallel. I mean, every mover knows they need a network with a realtor. But every mover that I've ever said, yeah, and divorce attorneys too, right? They always look at me like, I mean, it's clear. It's never crossed their mind ever. And I'm like, yeah, okay, well, that's why you should pay me, because I have ideas like that,
Yeah. Well, it's really the, it's not that direct connection, right? It's who's the connection behind that connection.
Right.
And that was really an eye-opening piece for me. I've always done speaking to groups and, realized that my customer could be in the audience. But what about the people who are behind those people in the audience? And that spider web effect of connecting with the right people behind them was really the clarifying moment for me, going through your program and hanging out with you, was that realization. Wow, it's so much more than just the direct referral.
It is, and there's depth to that. And I think that people as a whole are visual. Thank you, Gordon. I think the people as a whole are visual, and so it makes it difficult to kind of see, behind the scenes, right? The Wizard of Oz is a good example. Everybody was focused on what was visible and not what was behind the curtain. And the metaphor came out of my mouth off the top of my head in real time. So maybe it wasn't a good one because there was some form of subterfuge or misdirection, in the Wizard of Oz there with the wizard. But I think that, people go out and they're looking for revenue, right? The business needs revenue to survive. I don't mistake that. Profits come from revenue. Revenue comes from customers. Customers come from prospects. But the best prospects come from referrals for a whole bunch of reasons. And I think people, start with, here's my card. Do you need me? Okay, let me give you two, just in case you meet somebody that needs me. And that's as far as their depth goes. Instead of going, I'm in the roofing business, I need to meet a guy in the gutter business. I need to meet a person in the water mitigation business. I need to meet a person in the insurance business. Because those people hang out with a higher number than average of people that are going to want to have a conversation with me.
Right.
Right. Now, the insurance agent, maybe not in the moment, But sooner or later, he's going to have hail damage claim, and the customers are going to be, oh, who do you recommend for roofs? Because they don't have experience with roofs, but the insurance agent, right? And the gutter people are talking to people at about the same time. We're up there hanging your gutters, and we noticed that, and vice versa. I was all up on your roof, and man, this gutters look like crap, right? What are you going to do about that?
Yeah.
And so they miss the fact that there's people that exist in the world that have a higher than average incidence of connectivity, engagement with the people that should be their customers. And you need to figure out who those people are and then pursue relationship with them.
Yes. And what I just thought of, based on what you just said, I've never had a problem connecting with other people who label themselves as a business coach, other business coaches. And, in the beginning of trying to connect with other business coaches who had different zones of genius, I was met with a lot of resistance. Well, why would I refer clients to you when I could just do those clients or help those people? And this is something interesting that comes up in the coaching field, in the online space a lot, is that when you're so general, you really can't get quality referrals. So because I'm super specific about who I want to work with, so are you, we end up getting introduced to the exact person we're looking for over and over and over again. In fact, 5 of my clients actually look alike. What? It is because...
You found another Jason Croft? There's no way.
No, I didn't find another one of him.
There's no one like Jason Croft.
There is no one like Jason Croft. Shout out to Jason. But when you're specific enough, it becomes easier to connect with people similar to you. Meaning, if you're a realtor and you specialize in helping people downsize, you can easily network with somebody who's a realtor who specializes in first-time home buyers in a slightly different area, right? So I think sometimes we limit ourselves a little bit.
And it feels counterintuitive, but the number of things that with a little bit of thought and reflection and looking at the evidence will show you that it's not the way that you think it would unfold. Right.
Yes.
That equates, and I won't get on the soapbox, with financial incentives that we think will induce people to do what we want them to do.
Yeah, let's not even.
And it won't.
And it won't.
And it won't. Okay. But also the sense that, and to speak specifically to the coaching industry, right, as an example, but this is universal. If I do it all, then that allows me to capture more potential customers. No, if you will nicheify, you will capture more potential customers, right? And if I lower my price, more people would hire me. No, if you raised your price, more people would hire you. And more importantly, more of the right people will hire you. You don't want somebody that came on board because the price was low, right? So, the old saying, rich is in the niches, right? Your friend of mine, Christopher Lochhead, right? You've written a whole series of books on category design. The category pirates, look up Christopher Lochhead, Lochhead, 2 H's in the middle of that. Follow him on social media, follow him on LinkedIn, get his books. Category pirates is the keyword. His newsletter is free. The in-depth newsletter costs a few bucks.
And an incredible community, by the way. I usually promote my own community, the Idea Lab for Entrepreneurs. Category pirates or category thinkers is pretty much the only other community that I promote. And it's for that very reason. It's that how you do what you do combined with the who and the where and the why and how much. You can create your own category. Let's think about a coach we both know, our communication coach friend who has a really unique model of his price reflecting his offer. You buy it one time and he's your coach forever. What? Who does that? And he set himself up and as his own category for that. So,
Right. Yes.
you know,
And he's gone. His rate has moved from 3,000 for a lifetime coaching contract to 6 to 12. I've watched this happen. 3 to 6 to 12 to 24 to 36 to 96. His last jump was at 3x, right? And this is a guy with no website and no contract. And his social media efforts consist of posting screenshots of text messages he's gotten from clients.
Yeah.
That's his whole social media strategy, right?
Inspiring. Because
super niche.
Yeah.
Right?
Because when you truly it's not about your copy and your marketing. It's truly about your offer. What are you offering and what is that result? So let's talk a little bit about what you're offering and what that result is, because I really think what you've put together in the last year is so stellar for entrepreneurs. I don't promote many other people's work or programs, very selective about that. And I feel fortunate enough to have experienced what you do firsthand. So tell us a little bit about your group program and what it looks like.
Yeah, happy to illuminate that. And how do I do it without sounding like I'm selling? But I certainly want to make it sound attractive, because I think it is. The notion that in business people don't need more connections, they need better connections. I think anybody that is in pursuit of quality relationships over quantity relationships, right? We talked about being bold enough to dial. I'm like, what about taking the time? Now, you should stop dialing, but to create a system where you're answering the phone way more than you're making phone calls.
Yes.
To ideal clients, right?
Yeah.
And, the knowledge or the awareness, number one, starts with awareness that it can be done. That with a handful, I'm going to say a handful, 6, 10, 12, not dozens, not scores, not hundreds, 6 to 12 key referral partners, strategic people in your life, depending on the size of your offer. The profitability of any one deal, I guess I should say, to not use the vernacular. Maybe all you need in terms of a business development effort. And so the awareness that there are people that exist that are happy to amplify your message because they believe in your message.
Yes.
And are in a space or a place or a time or an environment where they can encounter more than the average number of people, right? The mover and the divorce attorney, right? The gutter guy and the roof guy, right? So, so the awareness around that, and then what do you do to build the relationship to the point where they're going to want to refer you, right? John Gates, salary negotiation coach. Amanda Valverde, resume coach. Their customers are people who are employed or want to be employed.
Mm-hmm.
Their customers, not each other. John is not going to hire Amanda. He doesn't need no help, no resume. He ain't applying for work. I don't need no help from John Gates. She ain't negotiating salary.
Right.
But so given that it's clear that her customers should consider hiring John and John's customers should consider hiring Amanda, or at least somebody in their respective roles, what would Amanda and John have to do in order to build the confidence and conviction with the other person that makes them then referable? And so many people move through time and space on a modality of treating people like a prospect, number one. When they're not a prospect, they don't know that there's any other way to build trust.
Yes.
Switch then to the goal of familiarity, right? I just show up at the same networking event week after week after week, and that builds relationship. I'm like, nope. Absolutely does not. Builds familiarity, builds space for you to start to build relationship. But showing up at the same event over and over and over again does not build relationship. It builds familiarity. And so they don't have a model for finding out whether somebody, they do have systems for, right? The way you engage with somebody that you may or may not want to date, right? You're trying to figure that out. If that's filtering for that, you filter for friendship, right? But people don't have a model for filtering for business.
Yeah.
connectivity, right? And so they fall back on a friendship model, right? And I'm friends with a lot of people that I wouldn't hire.
So
right? And I've hired a lot of people that, as good as they are and as pleasant as they are, I just ain't going to make the effort to have them in my house for game night, right?
Right.
And so, that's a big thing, and they're not asking the right questions. They're pursuing some form of friendship, right? Or a model that sifts people for friendship instead of a model that sifts people for. Are they referral?
I want to go deeper there because let's talk about. I don't even remember how we first met. But we quickly knew that my clients were your clients and some of your clients were my clients, right? We quickly knew that. I won't say the introductions or the referrals started the first week. It's not something like, but we knew we got along. We knew we had similar values and morals when it came to referrals and introductions and affiliate fees. And, we talked about all of those things first. And then it was very apparent that we were giving and receiving value from each other. So that reciprocity kind of thing kicked in. And I think that's a 3-month process.
It can. Yes. Which is less time than you think it is, right? This is not wooing somebody for 3 months, right? This is checking in. This is being consistent in their business life, right? But I would say, because I had this conversation with my Ninja clients on Wednesday, so that would be 2 days ago this week. They're like, how soon is too soon to ask for a referral, or how soon is too soon to make an introduction when you don't know the person well enough to trust them? And I said, you can always give an appropriate introduction. And I referenced a mutual friend of ours, Katrina Goslin, and a woman I met named Adina Edelman. And this sticks out to me primarily because I am married to a woman named Adina, and I've only ever met one other Adina. So Adina Edelman. And I spent 20 minutes on a Zoom call. Nice enough person, very pleasant. I understand her business model reasonably well. And I created an introduction to Katrina Goslin. And I said, Katrina, just got off a Zoom, 20-minute with Zoom with Adina, right? Right. I'm low-key saying this is all I know about her, right?
Right.
We spent some time together. It seems to me that if I understand her model correctly, right, that you two could potentially be high-quality referral partners over the long haul. My recommendation is that y'all invest a short phone call or Zoom in investigation in pursuit of the notion that there could be a longer phone call or Zoom in the future and potentially a degree of mutuality as you go forward. Adina, this is Katrina, the one I was talking about on the phone a minute, on the Zoom call a few minutes ago, right? And exit. Now, 2 things stand out of it. Number one, did you catch how many times I used cautionary words? 20-minute Zoom, potentially. Start with a short phone call. See what's possible. Right?
Yeah. You were giving instructions. I'm
low-key. Well, I'm telling them what I think next steps ought to be, but I'm low-key telling Katrina, it's up to you to determine if she's trustworthy or not. And by the way, I have no reason to expect that Adina Edelman is not. If you encounter her, don't be saying Dan thought you were sketch. No, I did not. I thought she was great, right? That's why I introduced you to Katrina. Now, what's also interesting is that, right, what did I say about Katrina? That's that woman I was talking about a minute ago. The less I say about somebody, that means the more I know about whether or not they're a good fit for you.
Yes.
Now, I'd had the option, to mention her to Adina right on the Zoom. So it's not like I didn't say anything about Katrina, but I remember one of the best, funniest introductions you ever gave me. It was me and Ruben Schwartz, right? And you sent a thread, and it said, Daniel, Ruben, y'all do big things together. That was the whole intro. Right. Because I'm at a level with you where guy asked me yesterday, how did you, he goes, I'm just curious before we get into the conversation, what made you get on my calendar and book time with me? It's something on my LinkedIn profile, one of the public spaces that I'm in, And I said, Katrina told me to. He said, and I'm like, I haven't even gone to your LinkedIn profile yet. I don't even think we're connected on LinkedIn. Katrina told me to meet with you and you gave me your calendar link. And so here I am. Right. I don't need anything other than that from some people.
Yeah. Well, it's that borrowed trust thing.
Correct.
Let's tell the story of a couple of weeks ago when you texted me at 5 after 10 after 4. I had just finished working for the day. I was in the kitchen starting dinner, and a text comes from Daniel Andrews, and it says, "What are you doing right now?" And I said, "Making dinner." "Can you hop in this Zoom room? They're talking about you." "What?" "Okay." Pop in the Zoom room. And well, it was kind of a surreal experience that people were talking about me, or, somebody mentioned they needed a business coach. Somebody said me, then another person said me. And then you're like, "Hold on, I'll text her. I'll see if she could pop in the room." And everybody
That was a flex. I didn't even tell him. I just did it. That was a flex, right?
Such a flex.
That was me going, "Oh, you think you know STK? I know STK. Watch me flex this real quick."
Yes. And I'm still 2 weeks later, from that Zoom room, shout out to Leon. Liam has invited me back, and 5 people from that Zoom connected with me on LinkedIn and got on my calendar for the sole purpose of, I want to know how you did that. That was amazing. Who are you? What do you do? And they're really quality people.
They're not all looking to hire you as a business coach.
No.
They want to know, what is it that you do that makes people say your name in rooms that you're not in? And how do you and I have a relationship where, you can say Suzanne Taylor-King 3 times in a row and spin around a circle and she magically appears in your Zoom, right? What does that look like, right? How do you incantate, Suzanne, right? Showing up, right? Tongue of toad and eye of nude and all that fun stuff, right? How do you make that happen?
Yeah.
And, and I've gone to, and I don't do this as a show or a flex, but occasionally if I'm overbooked or mom needs something, because for those of y'all need to know, mom's 81, ill health, right? I'll pop in. I'll be like, "Hey, I'm here for a minute." Right. I'll, here's a link to my LinkedIn. That's usually all I start with because my calendar's already pretty full. And I'll say, I'll let the other people that are still here, help figure out who needs to do that. And then I'll bail. And I've had to leave one early before it's my turn to do my elevator pitch. And I'm trying to remember who it was I asked. I think it was Stephen, but it could have been Mike.
I've done one for you.
Right. Yeah, he was your thing. I said, I got to go. When my turn rolls around, just hold your hand up and be like, I'm speaking for Daniel Andrews.
Yeah. And sometimes, other people do a far better braggy introduction, that people that really know you describe you in a way, like we just started this conversation with 3 adjectives to describe you that you wouldn't use yourself to describe yourself. But if somebody else says it about you, it's very authority building.
There we go.
Very authentic way.
It's a better intro, not because your vocabulary is bigger than mine, but because of the whole wingman concept, right? The whole reason when people are dating, they want a wingman with them at the bar or the party is because there's some implied credibility. If I walk across the room at the happy hour and say, "Fred, you need my thing." And he goes, "Maybe I do, maybe I don't." And he leans back. But if STK walks across the room and says, "Fred, now that we've chatted for a few minutes, I think you need what Daniel's got." He's like, "What's he got?" And you're like, "You know what? He can explain it better than I can. But based on the couple of key phrases you gave me, I think that, Daniel's got what you want." And now he's leaning in and he's coming across the bar or the restaurant to speak to me and be like, "STK's." And your languaging doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to use the same phrases I use. Your elevator, your description to me or introduction doesn't have to mirror my elevator pitch. But there's some implied credibility that it's not me saying good things about it. Right.
And there's something else to be said for that. Sometimes I notice people rehearse their elevator pitches so much that they become kind of robotic or contrived, and they feel very like, I'm trying to get you to buy something. But if I was to say to you, so Gordon Melville is joining us live, and I just think he is, I'm going to show my age and call him the bee's knees. Like, he is super cool, coach for men, so emotionally intelligent and centered and grounded, and just this inspiring person. And so whatever I can do to promote him, talk about him, encourage him, becomes just something that comes naturally from me. And me saying it, I don't know, it feels so raw and authentic because I love him. You should love him too. And I think that's a piece in marketing many people are missing nowadays with, just posting on social media or the DM cold messages. If one more person messages me about getting 40 leads a week, no, stop. I don't want 40 leads a week. Sounds like a nightmare.
I don't want any leads ever. I want introductions, because a lead is not a prospect. A lead is a suspect. I want warm introductions. That's all I'm interested in dealing with. Meaning, if somebody said to me, call STK, I'd be like, or you can never call me. Now, if Gordon put us in a thread together and said, Daniel, Suzanne, I think you should be talking, I'll be the first to pick up the phone. But if it's not, it's freeway. If I'm not being endorsed at some level,
yes,
then I'm going to pass, because the hill, it's just such a bigger hill to climb before you believe, what I have to offer.
Yeah.
And the conversation yesterday, right? A guy invited me to, the same one that said to me, what made you get on my calendar? I'm like, Kachina told me to. He's like, hey, I'm doing a live stream later today. Thank God I showed up, because there were two of us watching this live stream, me and one other person, right? And his featured guest, because he co-creates it with somebody else, was about how to build, relationships through your social media posts. And I'm going, I'm not being a smart aleck in the comments, but I'm like, but you can't. You can build familiarity, you can build awareness, but there is no relationship until there's a conversation 1-to-1 or 1-to-2, right? 2 or 3 in a room. That's when you're, when you're building a relationship. Again,
yes, that's when the title of that should be how to take your social media and turn it into conversations. How to post on social media, and when somebody comments, how to get them in the Zoom room for a conversation. That should have been the conversation.
Right. And he used the word hack, and I put, the best, and so I put in the comments, the best hashtag hack is authenticity, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot to be said for that. And I'm not saying that they were teaching bad information, but I'm just saying they were using the word relationship, out of the wrong context.
Right.
And think about, I don't know if anybody else is keeping score, but between the two of us, we've used the names of 8 people that had no idea, that don't even know we're doing this today, right? 9 if you count Gordon, who logged in to watch us do this, right? And it's not because we have affiliate programs with any of them, right? There's John Berghoff, the exchange approach. I get so worked up about that. People often ask me if it's my program or if I'm on a commission, and I'm like, no. And I would decline one if offered, right? I said, exchange approach just freaking changed my life. You get
changed my life. You introduced me to it, and I just introduced a client to it this morning, to their 90-minute free training. We went over the framework for my client's first event, and I said, look, I can go over this framework with you for your attractor event, but I think the best way for you to fully grasp it from a meta perspective is go to the 90-minute introductory training. And if anybody wants the link to that, put it in the chat and I'll share it with you. But go to that 90-minute training and listen, not only for you, but watch how the 90-minute goes. Watch the choreography, from that perspective of, oh, they're doing what they teach here.
Right.
Perspective.
Well, and let me throw something out. I have no idea what the audience is. I'm not saying the exchange approach is right for all of y'all. This is not like landmark, coaching, right? It's borderline fault, right? But my point is this. So the point I want to make is, this is a guy who's never done a social media post outside of a closed community, right? They have a 1-page website with one event listed on it. They repeat every 60 days.
Yeah.
Nothing in
Truly.
common except that they're biz dev. Marketing is not a subset of relationship building. Relationship building is not a subset of marketing.
Truly. And I don't know how much more we can say about the idea of, truly knowing your connection. So to me, it wouldn't matter to me, what you were currently marketing. Doesn't matter. If you're marketing a challenge, a free thing, a PDF, an 8-week program, a 1-year that doesn't matter to me. I could care less what Daniel Andrews is currently marketing or offering. It's the person and what you teach and what you talk about, and whoever I introduce or refer, you're going to figure out what to market to them or what they need or how to serve them, whatever.
Or if I switched industries, you would give me different referrals, but you wouldn't be like, all right, Dan, you're starting all over at zero again.
No.
Like, you'd be like, did you go to rep for a good company, Dan? Did you check them out good?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, then let's do this, right? Now, the referrals, the referrals would change, but the fact of referrals wouldn't.
Correct.
And by the way, for those of you that are out there thinking, but networking is a form of marketing, yes, networking is. This, I call it marketing by hand. It's the most laborious, time-consuming, expensive if you're buying apps and drinks at a happy hour, right? Expensive if you're belonging to a leads group. You're marketing by hand. Networking is a subset of marketing because you're not doing anything other than increasing awareness. Building a network, which you notice is the phrase I've used consistently through this whole conversation. Building a network is about never having to hand out your own business cards anymore. You got other people going, Fred, you need to be talking to Dan. Fred, you need to be talking to Suzanne.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that so much. Somebody recently asked me, you know him? And I said, yeah, do you want his number? And I picked up my phone and did the classic, real connections are in your phone, not on social media. And the person looked at me like, where'd you get that from? Daniel, let me send you his contact info, right? And somebody recently did that to a really close friend of mine who started off as a client, David George Brooke. We met as part of a podcast network years ago. He hired me for some work with his website and courses and developing some really cool things. ThatGratitudeGuide.com, free promo, David. And we quickly realized how much we had in common. And it was like, okay, we're not client coach anymore. We're connected. And the amount of introductions, referrals, and awareness about each of us from that relationship, same with you. Because I know wherever he goes, he talks about me. Wherever I go, I talk about him. And it's having, how many did you say? 6 or 7 key people that do that for you really can move the needle in your business.
Yeah. Anywhere from 6 to 12 in any industry can make that work. Yeah. It's really interesting.
All right. Well, how can our listeners get in touch with you and find out more?
My name is very actually hard to find on a Google search because my full name, Daniel Patrick Andrews, is shared by a bombastic Australian parliamentarian, the former premier of the territory of Victoria. And so I'm buried under 1 million search returns or more that aren't me. But DanielPatrickAndrews.com will give you a fast way to get to my LinkedIn profile, right? There's a hot link there. By the way, it's not a fancy website. I'm about relationships and not about marketing, right? I don't have a lead capture tool. There's no freebie on the main page. If you'll simply give me your email address and then, I can pester you until you hate me. That doesn't exist, right? The website primarily exists to support my testimonials and my reviews, and my recommendations. That's literally what it's there for.
Beautiful.
So if you're not impressed with my website, I didn't expect you to be, and I'm okay with that.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here today, and I appreciate you and love our connection. Let's see where we can go in 2024 with powerful connections. Thank you, Daniel.
You got it. Rock and roll.
Thank you for tuning in to another empowering episode of Unlock Your Way. I hope you found today's discussion inspiring and you're ready to take your business and personal growth to that next level. If you're feeling as fired up as I am and eager to unlock that full potential, I'm here to help you on your journey and provide that personalized guidance tailored to your unique goals and challenges. Simply book a one-on-one coaching call with me and we'll dive deep into your business aspirations and see how we could co-create a roadmap for your success. And whether you're striving to scale an enterprise or just getting started, I'm here to support you every step of the way. To schedule your coaching call, simply visit the website at unlockyourwaywithstk.com, click on the Book a Call button, and we'll turn your dreams into that reality. Subscribe and review on your favorite podcast platform and on YouTube. Plus, you can join over 800 entrepreneurs in the Idea Lab Facebook group. Let's make success as an entrepreneur happen together. Until next time, I'm STK. Keep dreaming big, stay focused, and most of all, have fun while you're doing it.